There is a Gambian proverb that says, before healing others, heal yourself. Hey, my name is Sarah V, and this is the She is Africa podcast, where I talk with inspirational African female creatives about culture, vision, and everything in between. On today's episode, I'll be talking to Isata Kamara. Her country of origin is Sierra Leone, but she was born and raised in London. She's a writer and a thespian, and also has a self-titled blog where she writes about mental health, self-development, and current affairs in Africa. Welcome, Isata, and thank you for joining me.
Hey, welcome to me. That was a very nice intro.
Thank you. So can you just tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I was born and raised in South London. I studied a bunch of stuff like English and history, and then I decided to move to the US at age 18 to study acting. And then I graduated, and I just ended up staying because I liked it over here. And yeah, I never really was a writer before 2 years ago. Now it's 2 years, but essentially it's just been a year. So this writing just started for me. But once I started, I just really liked it, and it was a great way to express myself.
So what motivated you to start writing specifically about mental health and self-development and current events in Africa?
So it's a bit of a long story, but at the time I was working at a theatre. But in London, our theatres are not like cinemas, it's like stage theatres. So I was working at a theatre, and everything was, great. I loved it. I got to watch free shows and everything, but I felt very unmotivated at the job. Mm-hmm. So one day my friend was like, hey, let's go out. It's my birthday. And I was like, I don't want to go out. She was like, yeah, let's go. And then we ended up going out for her birthday, and something terrible happened. I got attacked by a bunch of guys. Well, first of all, it was me and my two friends that got attacked by the guys, but then they ended up getting away and it was just me, and then they took my phone. So through that time period of about 3 months, I didn't have the funds to get a new phone.
Yep.
So, and I was still at my job full time. So I would just write what I was feeling in the moment at work. Like I would get scraps of paper and just write stuff, because usually if I had my phone, I'd write it in my notes.
Yeah.
And one day I was writing, a lady came to me at my job, and there was this old Indian lady. She's about 80. Mm-hmm. And she was expressing to me how young people just don't listen, And I was just like, okay, there's an old lady nagging at me randomly at my job. Like I was just so disconnected.
Yeah.
And she was like, back in India. And I was like, oh my gosh, you're from India? Wow, that's so cool. And I just immediately just started engaging in what she was talking about. And then we ended up talking for like an hour. Like I left my desk at my job, and she said, yeah, I'm waiting for a show, but she just wanted to catch him up about her life. And that was my first blog. After that, it was called India Through Her Eyes. I wrote about the art of listening and how I literally, everything I just told you, I spoke about how I hate my job, but this lady came in. It was very, my first blog was very vague.
Yeah.
And sometimes I go back to it and just think, wow, I just didn't care.
I like that, though, the art of listening.
Thank you. And that's how it started. Now, mind you, I was just writing initially because I just wanted to express myself. It was therapeutic, and I just wanted to have an outlet, and I knew nobody would read it. So I literally, if you go into some of my blogs, my earlier blogs, there's some personal stuff in there, because I just thought, hey, I don't have a phone. I just have my laptop, and when I come home, I could just write some things down and close it, and it was like a diary. Yeah, so how it went into mental health and current affairs of Africa. One of my closest friends, Abiola, was like, yo, this is actually really good. Because after 5 blogs, I asked someone to read it, and it was her. I was like, hey, I've been writing this blog. I know you'll be honest. Is it good? Because I think it's kind of alright,
Yeah. We honestly, a lot of times we never really believe in ourselves,
Exactly. We don't. So she's a very honest, brutally honest person. She was like, nah, this is actually all right, there's a few, spelling mistakes, which I still do to this day, because when I write, I don't ever read it ever again. I just write it.
Oh, you just put it out there.
Yeah, because I'm really critical of myself, so I just write it and then just send it to, like, my boyfriend or my friend or someone to just read it, but then I never go back and check it, because, I'm just really critical. But she read it, she said, this is really good. She said, okay, now you've written about so many self-indulgent things, like how you feel and what you're going through. Write about things that are important, it's not just you. And I was like, okay, well, my mum's a mental health nurse and she always has stories, and I'm in London, there's always stories about, regular people going through the same thing, which is mental health issues. And that's when I started my first official mental health blog, which was the Clown Syndrome.
Okay.
And that one was it was a thesis about Robin Williams, the late Robin Williams. And it just really spoke about, because I was a jokester in school, so I used to laugh about everything. And I still do try and laugh through things, but it's mostly the people like us who laugh a lot are going through the most pain. And instead of using myself, I used a person that everybody knows, which is Robin Williams, and how he was a jokester, a comedian. He entertained everyone, but we all didn't know that he was going through depression for 30 years until he eventually killed himself.
I've read a few of your blogs. When you write, it's like a story or a poem, it seems like, and then it leads into what you're trying to say. So when you're writing, who are you trying to reach, and what are you trying to tell them? What do you want them to take away from your writing?
Well, first of all, when I write, I want to make sure that it's something I want to read. Like, I'm very critical.
Yeah.
I don't want to be bored, and I think that's where, like, the storytelling comes in. I want the readers to hopefully stay tuned. I don't want them to, like, tune out and get bored. And I'm trying to reach everyone. I want it to be a piece that, whether you're young or old or whatever background you're from, you could enjoy it and you can understand it. I want it to be clear, but at the same time kind of, complex, because, humans are complex.
Yeah.
So yeah, I never really put much thought into who I wanted to reach. I just wanted to make sure that it was relatable to as many people as possible. But I've always said, when I write something, if one person gets something from it, then I've done a good job. If it affects at least one person, then it's done something.
When you think about mental health, has your culture influenced, like, your perspective on mental health?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're very one-sided when it comes to mental health, only because there's, like, a huge stigma. It's not even just Africans, but Caribbeans and Black people in general. There's a stigma with it. But 80% of Black women suffer from depression. That really pushed me. I never suffered from it, but I had my down times, and I remember, like, telling, like, an auntie, oh, I'm going through this. Oh, what are you going through? What do you know? And it's like, okay, well, I'm actually sad. It's like,
that's
people,
true.
Do you have bills? Do you have to? It's like, okay, well, there's people out there that are genuinely going through mental health issues, and because of our community and how we view it, they're able to voice it, and sometimes it's too late.
Yeah, and sometimes, like you said, when you told your aunt that, like me, I'm Liberian American, so they'll be like, don't put stuff on yourself. Don't put that on yourself.
And it's like, I mean, it's real. It's a real thing. We're not immune to it, and that's one thing I wanted to get across. And I've had a lot of, like, especially, funny enough, younger, like, second generation Africans tell me, yeah, it's so crazy you wrote about that because I'm going through this. And I had a lady that, she's much older, she's in her 40s. She was like, hey, I have 2 kids and I was suffering from this the whole time, but I couldn't even tell my family members because they would just tell me to go and pray. Whilst praying is obviously important, but mental health illness is an illness that needs to be treated.
Yes.
So that's what kind of pushed me, because I remember just going through it myself, going through some low times and not being able to voice it because you would be deemed as too weak if you're going through something for too long.
Yeah. Especially in the African community. That's true.
Especially.
So, piggybacking off of that, what are some ways that you think as African women we can improve ourselves?
Oh, we need to support each other. I feel like, and maybe I'm just seeing it because I'm African, but we don't support each other enough. especially African women, there's a lot of, I have to step on each other's toes to get to where I want to get to. I think most of the time it's not even malicious. We're just scared that someone's out to get us. So we just protect ourselves, and then we don't open up, and then we don't support each other just subconsciously. So it's all about supporting. Whatever you do, you need to have some sort of support system, and it doesn't just branch out to the people around you, but extend yourself to people that you don't even know in your community. That's what's bridging the gap between African women, is that there's not enough support, and we don't communicate with each other enough.
What is one piece of advice that you would give someone who wanted to start a blog, like the one that you started?
Just start it. I know it sounds really vague, but there's times where I go back to my first blog and I'm like, why do I put so much thought? I mean, it's good to put thought in it, but why do I obsess over like being perfect or making sure it's like smart? Just start it, because you just started it that day.
Yeah.
And you didn't care, and it still made sense. And it still makes sense. So just start it. Just write whatever you want to write. When I first started blogging, I saw a quote, and it was literally, just start. And I was searching for the rest of the quote.
Yeah.
It was a quote. It was 2 words. Just start.
Yeah, it's powerful, though, because it's true. You just got to get out there and do it.
Even if something is similar, no one's ever going to write like you.
True.
Just write what you write, and if one person just have the mentality, if one person likes it, then you've done a good job. If no one likes it, but you like it, you still done a good job.
Yeah.
Just start it. And don't overthink what the audience is going to think. That's the beauty of writing. Like, for me, I actually hide behind my words a lot, because I know that, it's my words that's doing the talking, not me. So I'm not going to get judged, and I'm hidden behind my site, which is cool. It's the beauty of writing. You don't have to prove yourself. Just do it. And you're free to use whatever words you want to use as well.
What is your favorite piece you've written?
Ooh,
and why?
That is really hard. Does it have to be one?
No.
Because, okay, I would say my top would be...
You can do top 3 if you want.
Yeah, definitely. Number one would have to be the clown syndrome.
Okay.
Only because it's really how I feel. For those who know me and didn't know that that's how I was masking myself, then they'll probably read it and go, oh, wow. Well, it makes sense why she was just laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
And because I felt like with especially that piece, a lot of people related to it, to masking themselves, even if it wasn't particularly just being the clown or just laughing, but people had different ways of disguising how they truly felt. So that's number one. Number 2 would have to be fear of heights. That one because of how scary it is to pursue your dream, and because of how real it is to be scared about how successful you could be. It sounds very ridiculous that you're scared of how successful you can be, but that is really why some people just don't even do it. Because what if it actually happens? What if I actually make it? That thought alone is kind of, it scares me sometimes. Like, what if I actually really try and it actually happens? Yeah. So I like that.
Especially in today's society, because of the social media and everything, things are more likely to go viral, quicker.
Very quick.
Yeah, and then it's like, what if somebody, a celebrity reads this and then it goes viral? How am I going to handle that? And do I want that kind of attention? And so exactly. I get that.
It's the attention thing.
And then the last one.
The last one. I'm just going to pick the first one that comes to mind. I would say Departing from Pandemonium.
Okay.
I think it's one of the actual stories I took the time to write. Other stories I was just going through the motions, but with that one I actually it's not one of my funnest because it's very dark, but I like it because there was a beginning, middle and end. Sometimes with my pieces it starts in the middle and then the beginning's at the end, and then somehow it rounds up. But with this one I like it because I'm an overthinker. I could think myself into anything. And that one, it helped me I'm still working on it, but it's really about just not overthinking and the freedom of just letting things be. Literally, so if you have time, check that one out. It's very good for overthinkers because you read it, and as an overthinker, you're overthinking whilst reading it.
Yeah. And it's called, what is it called again?
Departing from Pandemonium.
That sounds good. I like those, the ones that you chose. And then the last question that I have is, what African issues do you wish had more national attention?
Ooh, number one, I would say youth employment, because with that leads many other problems like mental health, because if people don't have jobs, then they can't, sustain themselves and their family. Then they become desperate. Then they begin to do things that, that's when prostitution comes in, drugs come in, spiritual ways of getting money. All of that ties into mental health. So youth employment is number one. I wrote about this in a piece called A New Africa, how Africa holds the world's largest youth population, and a majority of the youth, 75%, don't have jobs. And the 35% that do have jobs, the majority of those are hawkers.
What's that?
Hawkers are street sellers.
Okay. Right.
So the jobs are not only paying nothing, it's barely a job if you can't even afford the week, you're just barely getting through the day. So I would say youth employment is number one. Mental health illness is a huge factor in the African community. And number three will be greed.
Greed, yep.
Greed. The power isn't shared. Opportunities aren't shared.
Mm-hmm.
And
that leads to corruption and all that. That leads
to corruption and everything else. So there's no employment, it's greed, and there's mental health. So now, how does Africa grow? Yeah. With that, those are like the foundations of a great or bad nation. So I think if we were to just create more opportunities for everyone, but most importantly the youth, because of course we are tomorrow.
Yeah.
We need to really pay attention, especially you're from Liberia, so you relate to the Civil War. There's many, many people still suffering from mental health, from trauma.
From the Civil War.
From the Civil War. And that's not just us, but you have Congo, you have Uganda, you have South Africa, you have many, many, many African nations that have had these traumatic events, and the people are left there still in the mindset of their circumstance, what just happened. And people are going on and life just keeps moving, and they're just stuck in the 1999 for Liberia, or for people in Somalia, they're still going through traumatic events, and the world just moves, and what do they do? So I think we need to take care of not just our people's finances because we need jobs, but our mental health. That's the reason why a lot of things are happening. That's the reason why people are just doing sacrifice. There's a lot of child sacrifice in Uganda because of the desperation and need and greed for money.
Yeah.
And for a lifestyle, so.
I think I also read a piece that you wrote about a child who was sacrificed.
Yeah.
For money to a witch doctor, right?
Mm-hmm. It's very common in Uganda. And, I feel like as a diaspora African, we're connected, but we're not. That's really why I started writing about Africa. I never really used to write about it until recently, but I just felt disconnected. Like, as much as I see it on the news, we're so desensitized by it. Like, we feel for them, we post it on Instagram, and then that's it.
I think too, I don't know if you agree with this, but a lot of Africans, when they come to America, it seems like they want to rid themselves of Africa to become more Americanized.
They do. It's about what you came here for, and it's really common in our community. Like, you see a better life. That is really one of my goals, is to make Africa the life that we don't have to escape from.
Yes.
Let's create an Africa that our brothers and sisters don't have to run away from. Because when you run away and you seek a different lifestyle, you think this is better, and it's not. It's just different. So that's the issue, and we're detached from it. We see ourselves as like African diasporians and not African Africans because we're not there. So I think that's one of the reasons why I push myself, as much as it's hard, and it really is emotionally draining to write about some topics. Someone has to read it. Someone has to know that this is what's happening in your home.
Yeah, that's true. That was really good. So the next part that we're going to move on to is the 2 games.
Cool.
So I'm going to do the first one is word association. I'm going to say a word, and then you just tell me what's the first word that comes to your mind.
Sure.
Perfect.
Africa.
Journey.
Life.
Communication.
Words.
Health.
Trinity.
Solitude.
Water.
All right, so the next one is this or that. I'm going to give you 2 options, and then you're going to choose. So the first one is Netflix or YouTube?
YouTube.
Spring or summer?
Summer, because I was born in summer.
Physical book or digital book?
Physical book is the best. You can't even match it to the online thing.
And what's one of your favorite books?
The Alchemist. And another book, if people want to get into the whole psychology thing, The Age of Absurdity, it talks about social media and how we interact. One of the quotes is, we love our screens, but we don't love ourselves. So It's a really cool book. It's really hard to finish because it's the age of absurdity, but our attention span's really short.
Yes.
That's the irony of the book. And it tells you within the book, you're probably not going to finish this chapter, and then you get to the new chapter. So it's a cool book. So The Age of Absurdity.
Afrobeats or R&B?
Afrobeats.
And who are you listening to right now?
I like Wizkid's cool, Davido, techno. I thought P Square is still good. They're legends.
Yeah.
Two-Face, Malik Berry, Shatta Wale, Runtown, Sarkodie. There's so many. I'm probably missing out a lot, but yeah.
All right, next question. Plane or car?
Plane or car?
Yep.
I would say car because I like long drives.
All right. And this is a beauty question. Concealer or foundation?
Foundation.
And who are you wearing? What foundation you usually wear?
What do I wear? Oh, Fenty. Fenty's really good. If not Fenty, Maybelline Fit Me. It's the drugstore one. It's like $5. It's good.
A lot of people love that one too. If you see a lot of like YouTube makeup artists.
Yes, that's where I got the tip from YouTube. That's why I picked YouTube.
Yeah. Jacket or hoodie?
Hoodie.
Hoodie.
No, both. You can't pick both, right?
No. You gotta do this one or that.
Hoodie.
Hoodie. All right. Okay, so then the last question. Name an African female creative that you follow on social media, and using She is Africa as a template, describe her using one word.
She's a Ghanaian TV presenter. She has her own show. And the premise of her show is that she interviews African celebrities, mostly Ghanaian celebrities. And she does most of the show in her native language. And she's just very bold. This past Christmas, I was watching a bunch of her stuff on YouTube, and I just love how fierce she is. She's so fearless. She has her own way of doing things, and out of all of the African TV presenters, male or female, she's probably one of the most prominent ones because she's so original. And I love people who just don't care what people think. So she's very bold, and I aspire to be as bold as her in my craft. She's very bold. You should check out her stuff.
Her name is
Delay.
Okay. Great. And then just to wrap it up, can you tell us about where we can reach you?
You can reach me on, it's Isata. ITSISATA is my Instagram. I just made a Twitter. I tweet like every 10 years, but still follow. I'm going to become more consistent on that. Yeah, so isatakamara.wordpress.com is my WordPress handle.
Great. And thank you so much for being on this podcast. I really appreciate you. I had so much fun talking to you.
Me too.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the She is Africa podcast. If you love this episode, then tell us. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at She is Africa.